Is it the end, though? Is it really the end? Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks 16mm lunch, where we watch old 16mm films and we think about them. We think about what we're watching and what we're seeing. And, wow. I mean, in the comments, I guess two people are going for dental appointments um, within this week. Good luck to you. Kudos to you for that. I have a pretty big collection of dental hygiene films. I didn't mean to go out and collect them. They just show up. I even have one that's Russian. That is really fascinating, and I don't know if I feel like I've shown it on here, but maybe I haven't. Uh, but yeah, this is why we watch films, is because we still are going to the dentist now. We still think about dental hygiene now, mostly because of advertising. And so to see the comparables, this is why I like watching old films, is we get to see how we were or how we wanted to be back in the day versus how we are now and what we're doing now. Um, and dental hygiene, is it what is it about? Is it about appearance? Is it about whitening your teeth? Is it about fixing, getting crowns? Like uh, those Invisalign braces or whatever. Like, is that what it's about, or is it about uh, you know the teeth falling out of your head eventually due to neglect and decay? All right. Somebody mentioned hippos. There might be hippos in this. Big animals of Africa. Enjoy.
Today, when we go hunting for animals in Africa, we can travel by jeep and hunt with cameras instead of guns. But for a long time, Africa was thought of as a land of mystery because most of it is separated from the rest of the world by the vast Sahara Desert, a desert almost as big as the whole United States. A large part of Africa is made up of high, flat lands called plateaus. There are large forests, mostly hot and dense, and there are large areas of rolling grasslands with pleasant temperatures. The grasslands are home for some of Africa's most interesting animals. They live in herds and eat the grass and the leaves of other plants. Their main protection is their ability to run fast. Here's a large herd of zebras, members of the horse family. They look very much like small striped horses. They have hoofs much like those of horses, too. While these zebras all seem to be striped the same way, actually every one is as different as one fingerprint is from another. What's this behind the bush? The zebras run away at first, but it's only a baby giraffe. Now you can see how stripes and spots help to hide an animal in the forest. This is a good example of protective coloring. Giraffes and zebras are often found in the same places. This baby giraffe has a hard time reaching the ground. This grown giraffe has the same trouble. A full-grown giraffe may stand 8 or 9 feet to the shoulder with another 7 feet of head and neck. The largest weigh more than a ton. The giraffe is the world's tallest animal, almost as high as a 2-story building. A favorite food of the giraffe is the leaf of a certain kind of tree. the acacia tree. It has tiny leaves and big thorns, but the giraffe can nip off each tiny leaf without hurting itself on the thorns. See how its remarkable long tongue helps it do this. Giraffes live in herds like some other animals of the grasslands. This is a herd of wildebeests. That's a Dutch word for wild beast. Isn't it an odd-looking creature? It's a member of the antelope family. Africa is the home of many different kinds of antelope, like this eland. Its stripes look almost like sunlight coming through the trees. Another example of protective coloring. This beautiful antelope is called a Thompson's gazelle. There are more than 60 different members of the antelope family in Africa. Antelope are of many sizes, and some look quite different from the others, but all live on grass and leaves. And though many have sharp horns, they usually depend on their protective coloring and their fast legs for protection. An enemy of the antelope is the cheetah, which can outrun even the antelope in a short burst of speed. The cheetah is a meat eater, but it doesn't kill unless it's hungry. The leopard, which spends much of its time in trees, is another meat eater. It is at home on the ground as well as in the trees, and is a skillful hunter. Lions are meat eaters too. These young ones are not yet able to attack a large antelope. But the antelope doesn't come too close, for lions live in families, and the adult lions are almost sure to be nearby. Notice the mane on the male lion. The lioness doesn't have a mane. Meat eaters like lions, leopards, and cheetahs feed on some of the leaf-eating animals like zebras and antelope. Notice how these antelope keep a safe distance, but they won't run away unless the lioness starts after them. Lions have sharp teeth and tear off pieces of meat, which they swallow whole. Whatever meat is left is cleaned up by the vultures and marabou storks. They might be called the garbage collectors of Africa. But not all leaf-eating animals are hunted by the lions, leopards, and cheetahs. The rhinoceros is protected by a very thick hide. Its front horn is several feet long, and while the rhino doesn't usually fight, he can be dangerous and can move very fast on his heavy feet. This is a hook-lipped rhino. Notice how the pointed lip is used for holding. Rhinos usually live in families. A baby rhino nurses for about 2 years. Here's a creature that isn't as gentle as it looks. It's a Cape buffalo, and when full grown, it's a dangerous enemy of the lion. Can you guess what this is? Yes, what you saw was the nose of a hippopotamus, which means river horse. The hippopotamus is another thick-skinned animal, safe from most meat eaters. It eats grasses and reeds along the riverbanks and in the water. It can stay underwater for many minutes. The majestic elephant is another animal, seldom, if ever, attacked by the meat eaters. Elephants are grass and leaf eaters and make good use of their trunks for searching out choice morsels. A large elephant may weigh as much as 6 tons. A lot of weight for his sturdy legs to carry. Look at the size of the ears on this baby elephant. African elephants have much bigger ears than their Indian cousins. Elephants are the biggest land animals in the world. Africa is the home of the world's largest birds, too, the familiar ostrich. They used to be killed for their feathers, but now they're protected by law. Some are raised on ostrich farms. They have powerful legs, well suited to running on the grasslands, since they can't fly. They rest by squatting on their legs. Here in the waters of this wide, shallow lake in eastern Africa, called Lake Nakuru, is the home of another large bird, the flamingo. It feeds on tiny plants and animals floating in the water, so small that they can't be seen by the eye alone. The beak of the flamingo is shaped so that water can be strained through it, leaving the food behind. It was estimated that when these pictures were taken, there were several million flamingos living along this one small lake. Of course, there are many, many other animals in Africa, like this baboon and her baby, and other members of the monkey family, like this little bush baby with its huge eyes. And there are many reptiles, like this monitor lizard, which may grow to be 5 or 6 feet long, and this vicious-looking crocodile. The Cape dogs of Africa are wild dogs who roam the grasslands in packs. They are skillful and untiring hunters of larger animals. Perhaps one of Africa's most interesting animals is this one, whose name starts with 2 A's, the aardvark, which means earth pig. It eats ants and termites, one of the world's fastest diggers. Just watch it go after a meal. Aardvarks, like many other interesting animals of Africa, are found nowhere else in the world. So today, many animals are protected in game preserves, where photographers may go to bring back pictures like the ones you have just seen, to show us how African animals look and live.
Quaint and sweet. Behind me I have a film scanner, and we have a film set up to watch. So let's watch, try to watch, not Night of the Squid, that's what we watched yesterday. Film about weaving. I don't know if it's about being in a car and weaving, or if it's about weaving, or I don't know, or hair weaving. Let's see. Enjoy.
Weaving is a process of making fabrics by interlocking 2 sets of threads, or fibers. The long stretch threads are called the warp. The interlocking threads make up the weft. Stretching the warp threads in this manner makes what is called a backstrap loom. This is the weft yarn which will be interwoven. Here, lengths of soda straws are being put on each of the warp threads. This prevents the warp threads from being drawn too close together during the weaving process. Tying the ends of the warp threads holds the weft in place. In this backstrap loom, the warp threads are tied at each end to a wooden rod. This makes it possible to weave a wider fabric. Heavy cardboard makes another kind of simple loom. To make a firm, even fabric, the weft threads must be brushed tightly into place. This box loom has a row of nails at each end around which the warp is wrapped. A smooth stick separates the warp threads so that the weft can be passed through more easily. The green fringe is made by tying short lengths of yarn to the warp. Wrapping sections of the warp gives the variety of an open area. The wooden heddle is another device for separating the warp threads. A heddle can be made with 4 strips of wood and a number of tongue depressors. Each tongue depressor has a hole drilled in its center. Yarns can be interwoven in a variety of patterns. This simple under and over pattern is called the tabby weave. Over 2 and under 2 makes a basket weave. The twill weave gives a diagonal pattern. Using different patterns is one way to achieve variety in weaving. But the greatest excitement in weaving comes from combining different materials. Even with the simple looms that have been shown here, you can find many new ways to combine the patterns and the materials of weaving.
What is that doing? Why does it stop? Hold on. That was weird. All right. Well, Peter Thomas. I'm talking about weaving and not about blood spatters or bloated bodies and lacerations. I think like 2 girlfriends in a row used to watch Forensic Files a lot, and so Peter Thomas's voice is in my head a lot because of that. Speaking of discovering things, bloated bodies in the forest, here's a film about discovering the forest. Enjoy. So Thomas Smith, the guy who made that film, made a lot of films for Encyclopedia Britannica, and also I feel like he might have done work on Star Wars. Could be wrong. I'm gonna look him up real quick. I know that's really exciting for me to look up. Tom Smith, special effects guy. Let's see. Yeah, so he made stuff. He made the solar system. He made Food from the Sun, chess, and so he kind of did stuff for Encyclopedia Britannica, but also for other folks as well. In 1979, George Lucas hired Tom to run his visual effects unit, ILM. Then he also did Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Return of the Jedi, Poltergeist, Star Trek films, etc. He also helped with Captain EO, and also produced Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Yeah, something. He did, yeah, and he did quite a few. So I was looking at the Academic Film Archive of North America site, which is run by Jeff Alexander, and who we've done a bunch of scanning work for. So anyways, that's how I knew about Tom Smith. All right, we're just going to keep in the forest with the duck stamp story. Let's go for it. Enjoy.
Just 50 years ago, the ponds and marshes of the Midwest that had once carried huge flocks of geese and ducks were but parched wasteland. Years of relentless, land-punishing farming, years of ditching and draining for yet more acres to plow, had sucked the land dry. And when the drought came in the 30s, there wasn't anything left to hold the soil together, and it just blew away. It was tragic for the farmer, for the nation, but for the wildlife, it was disaster. Among those concerned about the staggering loss of wildlife habitat was a Midwesterner, J. Norwood Darling, best known as Ding. A conservationist and a sportsman, Ding fondly remembered the duck-filled ponds of his youth. As the influential political cartoonist for the Des Moines Register, Ding used his cartoons to focus public attention on what was happening to his beloved Iowa countryside. Ding's conservation cartoons lobbied hard for a federal program that would buy and restore the lands that had once been waterfowl habitat. His efforts were successful. In 1934, the Migratory Bird Hunting Stamp Act was passed, which required every waterfowl hunter to buy a federal duck stamp. The money from the stamps was to be used to conserve waterfowl habitat. The first duck stamp of 2 mallards was made from one of Ding's drawings. Today, the duck stamp program is alive and well, and the annual open competition to select a design for the stamp, now called the Migratory Bird Hunting and Conservation Stamp, is intense. Entries by the hundreds pour in from across the country, from fledgling artists to seasoned wildlife illustrators. The judges, art professionals, and wildlife experts carefully examine the entries not only for biological accuracy, but also to gauge the feeling that the design evokes. Tension slowly builds during the final round as each judge assigns a point value to the entry. The design with the highest total will be next year's duck stamp.
Bill Morris is from Mobile, Alabama, and he got that #1 with the widgeon. Beautiful pair of widgeon.
To some, the new duck stamp will mean a handsome, valuable addition to their collection. But to America's wildlife, the stamp will mean much more. As autumn chills the Northland, the great flocks set out on their long migration southward, down from the Arctic North, out from the nesting prairies. By the tens of millions they fly southward, along the Pacific, through the central states, down the Mississippi, down the Atlantic coast. Along these four major flyways lie nearly 200 national wildlife refuges and hundreds of smaller waterfowl nesting areas that have been bought with duck stamp dollars. Our National Wildlife Refuge System embraces a variety of wet environments, wetlands, each crucial in its own way to the needs of different species of migratory waterfowl. In the prairie pothole country of the upper Midwest, 7 million ducks nest around sloughs and ponds. Coastal marshes shelter geese by the millions during the winters. The bottomland hardwood swamps in the lower Mississippi Valley are wintering grounds for mallards and wood ducks. Duck stamp monies are used to purchase this waterfowl habitat. The decision on which wetlands to buy is made by the Migratory Bird Conservation Commission, composed of cabinet officials, congressional and state representatives. Since the program began, more than 3.5 million acres have been bought for wildlife. Once purchased, these lands are managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to provide the particular nesting and feeding requirements that waterfowl need. Water, the most essential habitat ingredient for all species of ducks and geese. Hundreds of water impoundments have been constructed on refuges to restore water to once drained lakes and marshes. Water levels are carefully controlled so that nourishing food plants will grow and safe nesting areas created. On some refuges, farming ensures that grain will be left standing for food. There are many ways to manipulate habitat to benefit wildlife. Here, fire is used as a management technique to rid the marsh of dead, matted grasses. From the ashes, wildlife food plants will grow and flourish. Managing refuge lands effectively requires sound biological information. Spring and fall surveys monitor waterfowl population levels.
Over the lower Chesapeake Bay, we've got 8,000 snow geese, 1,000 mallards, 500 black ducks.
Thousands of geese and ducks are briefly captured and banded each year to provide information about migration and survival rates.
You gotta have these checked out. Anytime.
A lightweight radio transmitter will reveal vital information on this mallard's daily movements. Data from all these activities adds a wealth of information on waterfowl migrations, populations, and health. But the National Wildlife Refuge System is for people, too. There's no better place where we can experience and appreciate wildlife on its own terms.
Here we have the muskrat lodge. They usually average about 3.
This outdoor classroom allows teachers and students to explore nature firsthand. For many, it's the first time they'll see wildlife outside of a zoo or away from a TV set.
We have the snow goose that's in the blue phase. They all call the blue goose the blue phase of the snow goose. So it has the white head and neck and the grayish blue body. There, yeah, we have some whistling swans. I guess we have about 500 or so. And we have a few bald eagles here on the refuge. The visitors don't seem to bother them at all. They'll just sit on the snags there all day, pose for pictures, and the visitors couldn't be happier, you know. They come back to the center all excited.
And visitors come to the refuges by the millions to see and enjoy the magnificence of wildlife in its natural setting. On some refuges, hunting is permitted and is carefully controlled to provide a safe, high-quality outdoor experience. And the fishing can be great too. Wildlife and people are thriving on America's refuges, but the refuges encompass only a small fraction of the wetlands that waterfowl use and need, and therein lies a major problem. Half of the wetlands that existed when the Pilgrims landed have been lost, an area larger than the state of California, and the destruction continues at the rate of nearly 500,000 acres a year. Land for farming is still being wrung out of wetlands by the hundreds of square miles each year. Wildlife is still being forced from the few remaining coastal marshes to make room for roads and houses. Migratory waterfowl are an international resource. The responsibility for their conservation is shared by nations, states, provinces, private organizations, such as Ducks Unlimited, and also by individuals through their purchase of duck stamps.
Hi, can I help you? Yes, I'd like to buy a duck stamp, please. Okay. Anything else? That'll be all. That's $7.50 out of 10. 8, 9, and 10. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Refuge Manager Denny Holland.
Fish and Wildlife Service just bought this 500 acres of marshland through proceeds from the duck stamp. And we bought it for the black duck. The black duck is a species of special concern to the Fish and Wildlife Service due to loss of habitat, development occurring along the edge of their range, their nesting range. We're losing the population slowly. We think that through habitat purchases, nesting areas such as this marsh, that we can reverse the downward trend. But of course, black ducks are not the only thing here. We have snow geese and a number of other species that use these particular marshes.
While the money from duck stamp sales is used to buy wetlands for migratory waterfowl, hundreds of other wildlife species benefit. Those that are plentiful and those that are endangered, like the whooping crane. Everyone who enjoys wildlife, bird watchers, fishermen, photographers, refuge visitors, together with sportsmen, can ensure a future for America's wildlife by buying a duck stamp. It's the most direct way you can help wildlife.
I have heard the big geese honking in the gray September sky. I have seen their dark wings flashing by the thousands as they fly. Heard the whistling wings of swans in flight, watch pintails turn as one, and each fall I stand in wonder as the journey is begun. Your flights, they are long, stretching thousands of miles, so stop in your refuge and rest for a while. Then on the southern wetlands, where winters are warm, where flocks settle down till spring's on the dawn. Okefenokee, the Chincoteague too, each refuge a lifeline to help see you through. One spring morning in the cattails I saw mallards return. On that bright blue day the snow geese arrived 10,000 strong. Northbound on the flyways, their bright wings beat back the sun, and each spring I stand in wonder as their new lives are begun. Among the north wetlands where nesting is done, your courting and hatching and rearing's begun. Sand Lake, Great Meadows, some to Union Slough, each refuge a lifeline to help see you through. White River, Sacramento, the creek like a sea, your wetlands are lifelines my own eyes have seen.
Thanks to Paul Ott for that song. That just kept going on and on and on and on. They could have made that a little bit punchier, I think. Wow. I don't know. I'll list it as a toe tapper. How about that? A candidate. But oof. That film, I think that would be, Joe Pickett would love that song because it just goes on and on and on. But yeah, it ought to be shorter. You guys are hilarious. So James Chavez, are you still on here? If so, please email me your address. I owe you some stickers. And I also had to reorder some stickers, which is why nobody's gotten stickers from me from the 900th episode. So hopefully those will show up next week, and I'll be able to ship stuff out to people. Thank you for your patience. All right. Also, thank you for donating. I believe Jeremy and Kevin donated because of ducks. It's good to know that ducks and cats are two animals that I can exploit to make money. And that money that we spend on things like artist tape to tape down the ends of things. We also we just bought some splicing tape, which is clear. It's like Scotch tape, but it's not. It's actually thicker, and it doesn't yellow, and it's more adhesive, and we use that to splice things on. We don't do cement splicing here because it's more of a pain in the butt, and it's actually cuts into a frame, whereas tape splicing is like on the frame line, so you don't lose anything. You can also support us but besides doing the super thanks button, which is what Kevin and Jeremy did, you can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. You can also just hit the thumbs up button or the like button, or you can watch other videos that we have on our channel. Those are ways to support us. We are trying to figure out TikTok. We really don't understand it, but you can go to tiktok.com/@av.geeks and see what we're experimenting with. And maybe you can figure out why some clips get 200 views and some of them get 3,000 views, because I haven't figured it out. So thanks so much, and we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, right? Yeah, we'll be back then. Take care.